The Young and the Restless spoilers. Victoria Newman's decision to play nice with her formidable father seemed almost out of character for the woman who has spent her life learning the hard way that in the Newman family, mercy is a luxury few can afford. Yet, there she stood on the sprawling grounds of the Newman family farm, the same soil where generations of Newmans toiled and schemed, accepting, with a grace that surprised even those closest to her, a mission of reconciliation. The scent of freshly cut grass mingled with the hum of distant tractors, as if the land itself held its breath in anticipation of the storm she was about to unleash. For all appearances, Victoria had come under the guise of familial solidarity, perhaps even to smooth over the details of Nikki's upcoming birthday celebration. But make no mistake, this was no social visit. Clash of corporate titans, retribution for past slights, and the safeguarding of her chosen family were all on her agenda, in a confrontation that promised to rewrite the rules of engagement between father and daughter. She strode into Victor's private office, an oak-paneled sanctuary lined with accolades and photographs that chronicled the Newman legacy, her posture the very image of controlled fury. The velvet drapes were drawn, casting the room in muted gold light, as if even the sun respected the gravity of what was to come. Holding her head high, Victoria's eyes, a striking blend of steel and warmth, locked onto those of the man who had built an empire with uncompromising willpower. "I have a new directive," she began, her voice measured but unwavering. "A boundary I demand you respect, and one you will find I do not negotiate." Victor's trademark smirk flickered briefly before settling into a mask of paternal curiosity. He knew his daughter understood how to wield power. What he did not know was the depth of her resolve, or the lengths she would go to enforce her decree. She laid out her terms plainly. Any interference in Claire Grace's burgeoning relationship with Kyle Abbott would constitute a breach so severe that she would never forgive him. The word never hung in the air like a gauntlet thrown at the feet of the patriarch. Those 4 letters, NEVR, posed a challenge worthy of the Newman throne itself. Victor paused, absorbing the weight of her declaration. He had seen Victoria forgive indiscretions that would have shattered weaker wills, boardroom betrayals, clandestine affairs, and even personal affronts that cut to the bone. Yet here she was, prepared to sever ties over this one issue, casting it as the final straw in a lifetime of strategic compromises. The audacity of her stance was breathtaking, but it was crafted with the precision of a master strategist. Victoria was not one to make idle threats. As Victor leaned back, a flicker of mischief danced in his eyes. "My dear Victoria, you surprise me more each day," he replied, his tone half amused, half concerned. "But remind me, when have I ever underestimated the strength of your convictions?" That was all the opening she needed. In one swift motion, she crossed her arms and delivered the coup de grace. "Remember the crate, father." Silence fell so thick you could hear the faint thud of leather against the mahogany desk. A crate. That simple word unleashed memories of a moment so Newmanesque that even the boldest soap storylines struggled to match its intensity. Who had endured that wooden prison? When had Victoria, fresh from graduation or newly minted as a corporate heir, exacted such a chilling form of retribution? The details were hazy, lost in the annals of Newman lore, but the legend endured. Whispered in boardrooms and recounted in hushed tones at glossy soirees. Victor's smile faded as the recollection took hold. The Craig incident was the stuff of family legend. A lesson in loyalty and intimidation wrapped in one. Victoria had orchestrated it with the same meticulous care she now brought to the boardroom, shipping an offending party, whether a resentful rival, a rogue executive, or perhaps a faithless lover, off campus and out of sight until obedience was guaranteed. Her warning whispered of a power that transcended corporate maneuvers, hearkening back to the primal authority inherent in every Newman bloodline. The very mention of that wooden chamber, its creaking joints and narrow confines, served as a visceral reminder that Victoria could, and would, deploy extremes when her convictions demanded it. Yet the crate was only the opening salvo. Victoria's true aim was to assert a new code of conduct within the family's inner circle. An unspoken treaty that devoted protectors of love and partnership, the likes of Claire Grace and Kyle Abbott, would stand inviolate, beyond the reach of political machinations or paternal veto. She pressed her hand to a framed photograph on Victor's desk, one capturing a younger version of herself smiling alongside her father at a ribbon-cutting ceremony for Newman Enterprises. "We built this empire together," she reminded him softly, her grip firm. "We made its rules. Now it's time to honor what matters most to me, to Kyle, to Claire. They deserve our blessing, not our scheming." In that moment, Victor saw not just his daughter but the torchbearer of the Newman ethos, one who balanced ambition with compassion in a way he had, over the years, sometimes forgotten to do. The air between them crackled with tension as father and daughter locked eyes. Outside the window, the sun dipped lower, painting the barn rooftops with amber fire, a visual echo of Victoria's declaration, a blazing boundary drawn in the golden light of the setting sun. Minutes stretched into an eternity until Victor finally exhaled, his expression inscrutable. "Very well," he said quietly, a concession that seemed both an olive branch and a challenge. "I will heed your warning. But, Victoria, know this, the Newman name survives on the balance of strength and unity. Do not underestimate the cost of harmony." She inclined her head, accepting both his promise and his caveat. As she turned to leave, the echo of her heels on the polished floor sounded like war drums, predicting battles yet to come, alliances to be tested. Walking away from that office, Victoria felt the familiar rush of triumph mixed with cautious foreboding. The farm stretched out before her, silent witness to a moment that would ripple through the corridors of power at Newman Enterprises. The crates and contracts, the late-night board meetings and whispered deals, all would pale compared to the bond she had just forged with her father, a pact sealed by mutual respect, reminder of past extremes, and a shared vision for the future. But as the sun slipped below the horizon, casting the fields into deep indigo shadow, one question burned brighter than all the rest. Who had first tasted the dark side of Victoria's wrath, trapped within that infamous crate? The answer lay somewhere in the tangled roots of family history, waiting to emerge, and perhaps to claim its own revenge. Victor's skepticism toward Kyle Abbott isn't born out of mere stubbornness. It's the product of decades-long warfare between two dynasties whose rivalries have shaped Genoa City's very foundations. From the moment she first uttered her ultimatum, Victoria had struck a chord deeper than corporate politics. She had challenged Victor's paternal prerogative, and that, to Victor Newman, was tantamount to treason. He's never been a man to bow willingly, especially when he believes his family's legacy hangs in the balance. To him, any threat, real or implied, to the well-being of Claire Grace is a dagger aimed straight at the heart of everything he's built. Kyle Abbott may be earnest, devoted even, but in Victor's eyes, Abbott blood and Newman blood have been locked in mortal combat since time immemorial. Could he truly forgive his daughter's audacity in championing a boy raised under an adversary's crest? Meanwhile, Claire and Kyle, oblivious to the full fury they have unleashed, have poured their nights into grand designs, lavish invitations, heartfelt speeches, even a private serenade rehearsed under the stars, to win over the patriarch at Nikki's birthday gala. They believed that a symbol of unity, presented before the entire Newman-Abbott axis, would melt Victor's icy heart. Instead, they have unwittingly set the stage for a showdown of epic proportions. If Victor decides that Victoria's threat constitutes a personal affront too severe to ignore, he could mobilize all the resources at his disposal to demonstrate exactly why the Abbott name has always been a thorn in the Newman side. We're not just talking boardroom skirmishes. This is Victor Newman we're dealing with. He doesn't simply compete, he obliterates opposition. Remember, this is the man who once faked his death to catch his rivals off guard, then watched as those he trusted scrambled to fill the void he left behind. He's orchestrated hostile takeovers of Jabot on more than one occasion, driven not by financial gain but by the sheer thrill of outwitting those who dared challenge him. He's manipulated his own children's romantic lives with the casual cruelty of a chess master sacrificing a pawn, because, to him, every piece on the board serves the greater goal of maintaining Newman's supremacy. It's a pattern that repeats itself like a dark melody. When threatened, Victor doesn't negotiate, he strikes. And if that strike is meant to protect the family he loves, it's all the more ferocious. For Claire and Kyle, the implications could be devastating. Should Victor launch his inevitable counterstrike? They may find themselves banished from the inner sanctum, excluded not only from family gatherings but from every major decision within Newman Enterprises. Their lavish gift at Nikki's party, intended as a symbol of peace, might instead become the trophy of their public humiliation, displayed as proof that no amount of sentiment can break the iron will of Victor Newman. Worse still, they could become pawns in yet another power play, forced to choose between loyalty to each other and obedience to their respective bloodlines. Can love truly survive under those conditions? Or will the next move in this high-stakes game push them apart forever? And yet, there lies an intriguing possibility. Should Victor ultimately respect Victoria's boundary, if he truly honors the pact forged in that oak-paneled office, then Claire and Kyle might emerge not as victims but as trailblazers. Pioneers of a new era in which Newman and Abbott blood mingles without the bitter aftertaste of old vendettas. It would require a monumental shift in Victor's worldview. A willingness to value his daughter's convictions over ancestral grudges. If he can master such a feat, it would stand as the most surprising victory of all. Proof that even the hardest hearts can learn from the unwavering courage of those they love. But don't hold your breath waiting for a peaceful resolution. In Genoa City, peace is often the calm before the next storm. As Nikki's birthday approaches, the farm will resonate not with birthday toasts, but with the silent calculations of two empires poised on the brink. Claire and Kyle will face their greatest test yet. And Victor, armed with memories of crates and clandestine maneuvers, will decide whether to honor his daughter's demand or unleash retaliation that could reshape the very fabric of the Newman legacy. One thing is certain, when Victor Newman rears his head, every player on the field must watch their step, for in his world, mercy is earned only through unwavering loyalty, and a demonstration of strength that few can withstand. Should Victoria's ultimatum fall on deaf ears, let's be honest. Victor Newman is not one to swallow threats lightly. The stage is set for an all-out Newman civil war. Picture it, the silent fields of the family farm. Once the backdrop for genteel garden parties and childhood games, transformed into a battleground of wills. Victoria, having already proven she can wield her father's own ruthless tactics when cornered, would have no qualms about removing Kyle from Victor's reach if push came to shove. After all, the very mention of the crate was no idle warning, it was a promise steeped in Newman history. If Victor decides to dismiss his daughter's plea as mere sentimentality, softness, he might sneer. Victoria could well take matters into her own hands, spirit Kyle away under the cover of darkness, safeguard him in some undisclosed sanctuary, and dare Victor to try and reclaim him. Yet even as the possibility of abduction dances on the horizon, Victoria's loyalties are complex. She may owe her father a measure of respect, and a deep-rooted sense of obligation, that could temper her decision. Would she stoop to the level of Daniel's father, adopting the same vindictive strategy she decries, simply to shield Claire's happiness? Or could the maternal instincts she's nurtured toward Kyle and Claire compel her toward a more measured response, perhaps assembling a coalition of Newman board members and Abbott allies to legally bind Victor's hands, forcing him to choose between corporate unity and family harmony? If pressed, Victoria might issue a counter-ultimatum: withdraw your campaign of intimidation against this young couple, or forfeit your seat as CEO to someone with the vision, and the compassion, to lead Newman Enterprises into a future where love is valued alongside legacy. On the other side of this looming schism stands Victor, flanked by loyalists who have thrived under his iron rule. He may brand Victoria's actions as betrayal, accuse her of turning her back on the family that forged her, and launch a campaign to discredit her in the boardroom and in the press. He'll exploit every misstep, every moment of hesitation she shows, broadcasting them like trophies of her weakness. This would not merely be a clash of pragmatism versus passion, but an existential struggle for the soul of the Newman dynasty. Will power be vested in the ruthless pragmatist who built an empire, or in the empathetic heir determined to bend that empire toward humanity? And what of Claire and Kyle, the unwitting catalysts of this internecine strife? Their grand romantic gesture at Nikki's birthday bash, a dazzling display of unity, meant to be the capstone of their struggle, could become the symbolic epicenter of the feud, cake crumbs on splintered alliances, champagne bubbles bursting like shattered dreams. If Victor doubles down on his skepticism, commanding that the gift be returned and the couple ostracized, Claire might lash out, her own fierce independence igniting new alliances. Perhaps she'll rally the younger Newmans, Johnny, Faith, Jude, to her cause, fracturing the paternal line further and creating a generational rift that reverberates through Genoa City society. One thing is certain, Nikki's celebration will no longer be about turning another year wiser. It will mark the day the Newman family found its foundations shaken to the core. Whether father and daughter will emerge united, Victor acknowledging that love, once fully defended, can become the family's greatest strength, or whether this confrontation signals the beginning of the end for their bond remains to be seen. In the aftermath, the fields of the Newman farm may bear the scars of their conflict, but from those scars could sprout a new order, one where power and compassion coexist. Until then, every whispered phone call in the corridors of Newman Enterprises, every glance exchanged at the gala, will carry the weight of a family teetering on the brink. And in Genoa City, where peace is fleeting and drama eternal, the only certainty is that neither Victor nor Victoria will go quietly into the night.